Welcome to Searching for Truth and Treasure in Alabama with Alabama historian, videographer, and speaker Jim Phillips. Jim has spent the last 40 years exploring and finding amazing artifacts on lesser-known sites in the state. He's here with us to discuss the how and where you can legally explore old, privately owned sites and find those amazing treasures from the state's past. Plus, he's going to tell you a story or two about hard-to-believe events he's encountered as he's toured the state. So let's get into it. Here's Jim Phillips.
Hey, welcome in everybody to another episode. Hey, I want to remind everybody to visit Jim's website, jimphillipsalabama.com. You can follow what he's doing, listen to all the podcasts. You can donate money. That's always a good thing. So check that out and make sure you're subscribing to everything. Jim, how are you today?
I think I'm doing excellent because I got the air conditioner fixed in the old house.
That's right.
Oh, and let me tell you, we went to Blount County where I could afford to do it. The guy up there at the auto place near Cleveland where I was born.
Yeah.
Good old country mechanic who's honest. Did it for about half the cost of down here, fixing the air and putting a new battery in. Drove back with my wife when we dropped the car up there. So we're coming back the other day, and we're coming down that stretch of intersection from the Chevron station at Alford Road down toward Hoover on the interstate. That's where the attack, I'll call it, on my Jeep Cherokee happened.
Yep.
I want people to go back and hear some of the things we're talking about. I mean, you might hear part of a podcast and say, well, I don't understand that. And there may be things out there in my podcast that you will be amazed with. And everything I describe is true. It's 100% true. I didn't imagine it. Some of it, I've got witnesses. We're about to launch a new podcast, the one about an amazing thing that happened with a Christmas figurine thing.
Yeah, should be out now, actually.
Yeah,
You
that
can go back and
decided
listen to it.
just, as I was thinking about giving Christmas decorations in my basement, staring at them, to the orphans and all. I talked about Sister Marta getting stuff there to the poor people. Suddenly I started hearing Christmas music. I think Deborah said the song was "Oh Come All Ye Faithful." And I thought, what is that? And I looked around and I found, never knew we had a figurine in a box playing. Started playing all by itself. From there it gets more mysterious, more beautiful, more mysterious. And I finally presented Deborah with something. Now look, you're now witnessing a miracle, and I will prove it. And I proved it. She's gone quiet on that one. Okay.
You can listen to that podcast.
What's the title on that one we're doing that's got?
I think we titled it, Go Ahead, You Explain
You
This.
explain it. All right. You want to check that out. There's a lot of things. I've got one. It's podcast number 2405 called Dangers. The dangers, the second half calls is truth, searching for truth, and treasures. That's the treasures. Dangers in metal detected.
Yeah.
Digging bottles can get you killed. I talk about that. In the first half, I mentioned three things that are mysterious. They're angelic in nature, mysteriously angelic. And I could say, go ahead and explain that too. So that's number two.
So, hey, hang on. I wish you guys could see Jim's expression.
I am the angry.
When he says
the
that.
angry angel.
Yeah.
I know
Go
I must
ahead,
look
explain
mad.
that.
I know I went mad. I appeared in a misdemeanor court situation once, and it was very trivial. But I had a friend with me who says, "You look like you want to kill somebody. You're going to have to. You got to tone it down. You look like you want to kill somebody." So you look like you just like listen. It's called Dangers. It's number 2405. I start off with three mysterious things that actually happened to me. I think you want to see that. I don't make this stuff up. Then we got the one called UFO. Now, that one I did encounter. Remember, I described it, seeing it through the window at the coffee shop, Starbucks.
Yep.
They're all got their nose in their iPhones.
Yep.
Nobody sees it. I couldn't find anybody that Birmingham saw it. Finally, a lady in North Alabama confessed on the phone. She brought the subject up, UFOs. Her family saw it hovering over the lake, long, thin, black thing, and it disappeared in 2 seconds. I saw it from 5 miles away, and it disappeared in about 5 seconds to the southeast after hovering over Birmingham. Couldn't find anybody that she saw it. I called Mike, another Mike. He showed up at the talk I did at the senior center the other day. He said his brother saw it hovering over pasture right here near your studio, Jack, and described it as a long, thin, black cigar.
Yep.
I thought it was the fuselage of a plane. No engines, no wings. That's the cigar, baby.
That's right. That's the same thing.
So that's what
thing.
But go back. It's called UFO. And I mentioned a second thing that happened in there where I was driving in my Jeep and mysterious energy force hit my Jeep, vibrated me and my bones for a good 3/4 of a mile because I've measured it, played a musical tone, musical notes, a series, repetitive, over. I memorized it. We lost the notes.
You didn't memorize it very well.
The sheet music from Mars has been lost, okay? But a voice spoke. All right, now here's what I'm prefacing this for. We're coming back from Blount County. We're coming down south down the hill instead of north up the hill, which is where I was traveling alone in the Jeep when the energy field hit me. I told my wife, finally now I can show you exactly what happened. It ended right here, and I exited going up that ramp to the chaperone to make the phone call. Write this down. It's going up this hill. It's going woo, woo, woo. I'm describing everything. My voice is speaking in a language. Tones are playing. So I'm explaining all the way down the hill. It started here. I gave her the details of it. Now, what do you think her response was?
I don't know. I bet it was good.
We're going to take about 7 or 8 seconds. I can give you her response. Here's a response starting right,
here we go.
Right now. That was her response. I'm going to give her a new name.
No, you did not lose your signal. That was 8 seconds of silence.
Her first name starts with a D. The middle name can start with a D, and the middle name can be Denial. She's a great lady. She drove me all the way up there to get my Jeep, and I put gas in her tank. I put about half as much as she burnt. You don't want to spoil her. I appreciate that. All right, now I can't be telling the truth about anything that's happened to me. You know why? And I'm watching one of the channels, and they're doing the UFO investigation. So where do they go? They go out to New Mexico to Roswell in a bar, and these people are visiting them that have encountered things, and in they come, and they sit down with their 2,000 damn tattoos.
Nothing against tattoos.
All over. Well, I'm just saying you can look at some people and say, "Look how cool I am." I hate that. There's thousands of people out there that agree with me on that. I think you can do a tattoo here and there, and it can say something that you want to say, and it's beautiful.
Right.
And it can be meaningful.
I know what you're saying there.
Yeah, and they're beautiful tattoos. Yeah. But when you can't see your skin for all your tattoos,
true,
you're just walking ink.
Yeah.
That's all you are.
Well, and you're wanting people to comment.
And that's hideous. That's what they do in prison.
That's
they
right.
Got no time to do anything else. Why does a woman who could be beautiful have a pretty tattoo or something, a flower? That can be nice and all this and that. I think Marines need to put Semper Fi stuff.
Yeah,
the Navy guys need to put the name of their ship stuff. That's great.
Right. That's
just part of your life. I love that. But if you just blot yourself out in ink, it's kind of scary. But
maybe we should start a new segment where people write in and give you their tattoo ideas, and you can tell them if it's okay.
I'm going to step out of here. You're here. Whoop, whop, bam, whop. Staggering all bloody and have ink.
We don't tell anybody.
I'm going to have ink smudges all over my body.
We won't tell anybody where our studios are.
Yeah, right. We don't do that. So, but they came in and they got rings in their nose, rings in their ears, and rings in their eyelids, and rings in their earlobes, and here they go. Okay, this guy tells the story. I mean, he seemed nice. I mean, I'd really like to have coffee with him and respect him. I don't think I'm better than him. And I would listen to his story. And so I listened seriously. He and his girlfriend, they encountered a bright light in the woods. What they're doing is they're bringing evidence of UFO, something they want to have analyzed. And God bless them. They're saying, we did this. Could you analyze it? Mm-hmm. And that's smart.
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing is smart. So I'm speaking with respect about these people. And they didn't go overboard with their tattoos, by the way. These folks did. But a lot do that have been kidnapped by aliens. You know, they eat Cheerios with the aliens and the spaceship, and you can't see their skin for the ink. And he says, all right, we found alien tracks out in the sand. They went out there, and they made molds of them, and they set the mold on the table. And they're blinking, and they want the mold analyzed. And the guy, I guess they're representing MUFON, a Mutual UFO Network.
Uh-huh.
I've been on the internet, and they say you can forget them now.
Yeah.
They're not interested in you unless you've eaten Cheerios with aliens on their spaceships. If you can't claim at least that, they don't even want to talk to you.
Wow.
Case in point, girl videotaped a black cigar out her window over New York Harbor. It was on national news.
Yeah.
2 or 3 networks covered it. NBC covered it, I think, and it was a black, long, thin thing, just what I saw. Look exactly like what I saw. She did it in HD with her iPhone.
Yeah.
Somebody else saw it. She reported to MUFON. Never heard back from them. And that's what I've encountered. I don't even try to call them anymore. The guy brings the molds in of the footprints, alien footprints. I looked at it and says, they're ostrich tracks. It's obvious. They're ostrich tracks. So and they dragged us out because you got to have a show.
Well, sure.
We sent it and we looked at it, and of course the guy with the girl hadn't got a tattoo. He's got tattoos. You can't see his arms or hands, but he sounds nice. He's very polite. He said we sent it off to the scientist, and they beat around the bush. I said, just say it. Just say it. It's emu tracks. There's no aliens. I could see it's ostrich or they're cousins. Any idiot, a 5-year-old can see that's emu tracks. Don't come here and lay that in front of me. Say they're alien tracks.
Were you yelling at the TV while you were watching it?
Yeah, and why don't the aliens wear boots or shoes? Why they got to be barefoot?
I
And why do we have the little grays?
Well, that's why I'm saying, why did they even think it's an alien footprint anyway? Why is that the first thing that popped in their head?
Because they get to make Moses and be on a TV show.
Well, that's right.
You got to see why people do this.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
now we go to another one.
We're doing something wrong, Jim.
Well, they show pain in their face. They're pain in their face, and but they told them they believe they probably saw a UFO because they saw a light. You know, it's always that. Then we had the other girl that came in. She was a rather attractive thing, and she said that she had been kidnapped by aliens as a child, and they probed her body, experimented with her, and then that happened about 3 times, and it happened again when she was like 27, and it didn't happen all those years, and they experimented with her, and that she suddenly realized after being kidnapped, she kept quiet about it, there was some type of object implanted behind her ear. And there was this knot, and she went to the doctor with it. And they said, we need to remove that later. And so she went home, and she said she could not take it, this suspense. And also she says she cut her skin, and with tweezers she pulled this out, and she set this object down in front of them and said that was the implant that the aliens put in her head. And I looked at it, and I said, watching the TV, you mean that tooth? So they sent it off, and the scientists looked at it, and it was so-and-so enamel, part of a dental crown.
So somebody bit her in the back of the
She
head?
got mad. She teared up and got mad. Now, you can't say she's deliberately trying to lie.
Right.
Because why would somebody come down there with something that's so obvious?
Yeah, yeah.
So do we have a weird dentist?
But the question is, was it really implanted in the back of her head, or did she just say that
Supposed to be under the ear back there.
Yeah, but the fact that she took it out also means there was no witness, like a doctor taking it out saying, yeah, we found this tooth in the back of her head. So,
Well, she
hey,
started,
no offense. She could be telling the truth. I agree. But, yeah, it's a tooth.
She
Teeth
was
grow in the back
part
of
of a crown.
Yeah.
It was
So it was a crown. It wasn't like a natural
No,
tooth.
it was like a side of
like a
crown.
Oh, I got you. Porcelain thing.
Yeah, it was a half or something. But she got up all teary-eyed and went to the restroom. And so they told her, though, they were convinced that she had been kidnapped by aliens because, like I say, every time I've just read this on the internet, you've got to be having Cheerios with the aliens on the spaceship or they don't want to talk to you anymore.
Right.
And they confirmed that with everybody. Oh, you've been kidnapped by aliens.
Gotcha.
I never saw an alien. I saw a black, long, tubular-looking or cigar-shaped object over Birmingham. It disappeared in a matter of seconds. The lady saw it. My Jeep was wrapped in an energy field that hit me and vibrated with a tone, all that. I didn't see aliens. I did hear a voice talking in a language I've never heard. And I can't prove any of that, but I didn't imagine it. And this thing that happened in the house, the wife witnessed that. If we ever get to the house and talked about what started in 2005, I got a wife and daughter that witnessed things with me. And it happened over a period of weeks. And I thought I knew what was happening. It was spiritually supernatural. I think as this thing culminated, it proved that. But let's get off of that. All right, I mentioned those two.
Jim's reading his notes right now.
Yeah, there was one thing where they talk about being kidnapped.
So is this show like kind of like Antiques Roadshow?
Oh, this is
where they bring in
got all kinds of
artifacts?
shows, Alien Encounters. You go watching History Channel, Discovery Channel, all that's on there. Why don't the aliens, if they draw pictures, a description of the people being kidnapped, why are they butt naked with no sex organs?
How do you know they're butt
The
naked?
Lebanese word is zabre for a man.
That could be their clothing. They just look like they're naked.
Yeah, the Lebanese word is zabre.
Zabre.
For a male, and they draw them, and they're gray, and they don't have an organ or nothing. They're just gray. And
But you're assuming aliens have human formation.
Well, no, they got 2 legs and 2 arms. That's the popular thing. Is the grays? They call them the grays.
Yes.
And again, I can't disprove anybody hadn't seen anything or done this and that.
Right.
But I do know when you start analyzing this, it's rampant that there are people out for sensationalism.
Oh, yeah.
Because they get publicity. And
Well, look, I think 90% of these things are people's dreams. I know you, like me, have probably had dreams that are so real that you wake up and it's an hour before you're like, okay, that really was a dream, but that seemed so real. So I think a lot of these things are people having dreams that they're seeing these people.
You're weird. No, I have not had dreams that seem so real.
You haven't had dreams that seem that real?
To a degree. I know that's a dream. When I'm getting ready to...
I've had dreams where I wake up and it's a good 10, 15 minutes where I'm laying there going, did that really happen or was that just a dream?
King Kong is chasing me through the jungle and I realize...
Well, I know that's a dream.
I turn and chase him.
Well, yeah.
I know it's a dream.
There's certain things, but I'm just saying there's other certain things that just seem so real. So, and I think if your mind's open to it, then your reality versus dream world kind of blurs.
Well, now let's get into afterlife experiences. You can have some fun with this. And these people on the operating table, and this is where the nurse tells them you were in limbo, we brought you back and this and that. And we have the lady that talks about, let's go to the man first. He said he went, it was obviously hell. Voices were calling him into the hallway, and he got up from the operating table. And apparently there's nobody there witnessing this. They don't leave you alone
right.
on the operating table.
Right.
He says there's nobody there. But he goes, oh, that's not right.
Yeah,
so he goes out to a dark hallway. And he's walking into the darkness, and he realizes these beings that kind of he couldn't see that called him, said, come with us now, are like demons. And I'm just describing this, I want to do it as accurately as I can. He says, and then they attack him. And he says they attack every orifice in his body with violent pain and chew on him and attack him. And it's unbelievably painful as they attack him and attack him. Sexually biting, chewing, everything just goes on and doesn't seem to want to stop. And there's a brighter light and they run from it. And then he walks into the bright light and this happens and that happens and kind of he's seeing things. But he says later on in his description of this that you come to realize there's no such thing as physical pain in the afterlife. Didn't you just tell me that 12 demons attacked every orifice in your body? Because you just told me about the physical torment.
Right.
Then you come, quit contradicting yourself.
Yeah.
And then I love the one, and they posted this. I saw one today. I looked up. It had been on for like 5 days. I've already got 2 million viewers. 2 million viewers. But now get the headlines on like this. They list it. Went to heaven and Jesus told me which religion is the best one. You got that?
Did you watch it? Can you tell us?
I knew because he wasn't going to say anything.
He never said it.
And Jesus wasn't going to say that in that vision. And he never did. He describes it. He beats around the bush and he gets to the end. And next I'll be talking about, but what religion did Jesus say was the best one? You never mentioned it because it's like I said, alien-wise, and I said sucker.
Yeah.
It's a tease.
That's right.
But I hate doing that because I did have the Jeep attack, and I did see the UFO.
Yeah,
and so aliens and angels, and the manger scene lights up by itself and all this and that. So there's all this spiritual stuff. And like the only lady that showed up on one of my talks, I hate to tell you that, one person, and she said they're all in the same. I mean, people don't, that's her theory. She says aliens and angels, it's something we don't understand. That's her theory.
I see it now. I could kind of agree with that. I don't think angels are prodding and poking people, but
No.
I do think there are lots of unexplained things, and angels are a real thing, I think.
I
so.
called my lawyer friend, who I told you I mentioned the emergency room incident that we don't discuss. I pulled up in his driveway, and he's
We can't discuss
I
that.
can't discuss that one. And it's a real downer from the medical society out there that these kinds of things go on. We've mentioned some things. This one we don't go near.
No, let's just let that
We
one
don't go near this one. But it's unbelievable. And I told it once with the corporation, the president, vice presidents, and managers there. I said I shouldn't mention this because I was talking about crazy things that happen in hospitals. And they begged me to tell them. And I told them. And then the vice president comes. They laugh for 10 minutes. And vice president comes over and says, "Why do you have to tell such lies?" And I knew where that would go. I'm telling my lawyer friend, pulled up to his driveway, that I was going to tell him something. And I says, "I know him. His exact words will be, Jim, Jim, Jim. You just imagine that." I told him, because I wanted to just test him, "Let me tell you something that happened to me once. It's unbelievable." And I told him, and he goes, "Jim, Jim, Jim." I just quoted me, right? So he got down to that. I want you to see, we're going to probably make a couple of podcasts harder to see. The one on the praising coins.
Well, we're not going to make them harder to see. They're just not going to be as high up on the list. See, Jim goes back and listens to his favorite podcast and decides the ones he doesn't want you to hear.
Well-
so look, people are going to hear that, and they're going to go, "Well, why doesn't he want to hear him?" And they're going to go find them.
Well, I had good. I had sinus trouble during the talking.
That's all right. That's what podcasts are
Points
for,
I'm
though. They're
talking-
real life every
Yeah.
day. Hey, whatever you sound like, you sound like.
And one of my comments about my wife was meant to be funny, but it was pretty nasty.
I can't help that, Jim.
And
you wonder why her response was silence.
It was a joke when I slept in her bed for the first time in 9 years and caught a cold. That was meant to be humorous, not taken serious. Another one. There's another one.
Now
Life,
you just said it again.
Here we go. Life after death. There was one that's beautiful. I'll get to that in a minute. Lady says she died, and she's just ecstatically happy talking about this experience. And she wound up in a dark room or something, and again, it was like a dozen demons. They had to be demons. They were big, hairy creatures attacked her, and they raped her. I don't know if this was a nightmare to her or fantasy. The way she described it, it's like she was enjoying it. It was like a fantasy. I mean, she like giggles through all this stuff.
Yeah.
You were attacked by 12 demons, and they're raping you and clawing on you, and you're like giggling through all this.
Yeah, that's probably not
I
a
mean, when
good
you
thing.
got to hear it, it's like, what's wrong with you? I mean, is this funny? But she talks about, she tries to put the sound of how horrible it was, but it's almost like she's going to start laughing. And I'm not a psychiatrist. Maybe that's her way of showing anxiety. And maybe, and this could be an experience in her mind that she had.
Yeah.
I can't refute any of this. You can't refute this kind of stuff.
That's right.
And she may have actually had this happen in her mind. I don't know. But after all that torment, horrible torment she describes, there's a brighter light or something. She moves into it. She's walking down a path. And this is the way she describes it. You've just been tormented by 12 hairy demons. And there's something over here, like a little sign or something to the right. And in the podcast, she says, so she looked over and she says, I find that very interesting. You've just been brutalized by 12 demons and you're going, that's very interesting. I mean, come on. But go watch them. So I'm going to plug all of them. And they put them up like, which...
Well, you need to write down the name of all these so that I can make sure that when people watch theirs, that automatically leads them to finding ours.
Jim Phillips reveals
Oh, there you go.
which religion is Jesus' favorite.
You know what, Jim? That actually might be a good podcast for us to start doing is you watch a podcast and then you critique their podcast on your podcast.
Listen, a psychiatrist would have a day listening. I already told you my only psychiatrist I visited, he got up crying and ran out of the other room.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
What should I tell you? You got to go back and hear it. I don't even know which one it's in, but it actually happened. And the nurse assistant flipped the light on and says, what did you do to the doctor? I said, I did a thing to him. Why? He just ran out of the office all upset. And he made the sound over my headphones. He went, ah. This actually happened. But a psychiatrist can listen to me and says, well, Jim talks about how poor he is.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he had breakfast with a wealthy retired friend, and the friend didn't want to see him because he's so poor. And And I said, and I'm giving to the needy, and I'm part of the needy, and all this stuff. The psychiatrist says, he feels so inadequate. This is a psychiatrist. He feels so inadequate because all these people are wealthy, retired, and so he's got to make up for that by telling stories that make him look important and unique. That's what a psychiatrist analyzes.
There you go. And you would have to pay them $500 for them to tell you that.
I know what psychiatrists are thinking out there. Yeah. But the podcast that I want you to go back to, one is called UFO. I think you'll find it interesting. And I do say, well, anyway, too much to a lot of these, and I comment on that. And let me say, I want to put some of the list down here. Dangers goes into 3 of the unexplained, like spiritual encounters I had. And let me say, and I use the word Jesus. I was in Publix. I could give a plug for Publix. Jesus shops at Publix. Hey, that's a good story.
Why not?
Hey, we could do Jesus shops at Publix and get a lot of viewers. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
I go to other markets, but in Publix a lot. I'm back in the produce section. And I'm saying this respectful for using the name Jesus. I thought it was beautiful. And I paced it off last night again, 40 steps. It took the person in the far end of the produce up near the cash registers to come around the corner staring at me. I just had to be looking there. It's like, what does he want? He's fixated on me. Here he comes fast walking, no shopping cart. He walks around between people without glancing at them. How do you do that? You've got to navigate furniture. You gotta look at. He doesn't look. He's got radar around. He comes up to me, and instead of saying, leave me alone, I start to smile. I like this for some reason. There's a warmth to this person. He puts his right hand on my left shoulder. He looks at me, and the smile gets a little bigger, and he says, do you know Jesus loves you? And I said, I don't know, it just came out. I do, and it makes me so very happy. And then he winks at me. And then he disappears. So remember, I loitered by the cat. I saw him in the other aisle and talked to him. He disappeared. I couldn't find him, disappeared. So I say that I thought it was beautiful. Beautiful. He used the word and the name Jesus, and I thought that was beautiful. So don't start reading into things that I'm saying. The previous podcast, some of them may go a little further back. I like to use the expression for this is, you had your chance and you blew it. Brief story. People may enjoy this. I'm flying back from Boston in the 1970s by myself, and I'm changing planes in Atlanta. And I get on, and this beautiful girl gets on, and she's coming down the aisle. And I like the window, so I'm sitting by the window. It's a 2-seater, and then there's the aisle seat. And she's looking for a place to sit. It's getting crowded. And I says, ma'am, you can sit right here if you want to. And I don't think anybody's sitting here. I wasn't sure. I said, I'm not sure. There's a guy behind me. Says, oh, sit here. I've got a seat. Oh, sit here. So I looked up at her, and she says to me, you had your chance and you blew it. And all the arrogance, how beautiful I am.
Yeah.
Now, psychiatrists have them to play with me saying that.
Sure.
He resents me. Oh, get out of here, psychiatrist. I was trying to be nice to her, and I really would rather sit alone. I'd rather sit somewhere because I like my privacy when I'm flying. So this guy, she sits down beside him. All the way from Atlanta to Birmingham, he talked about his brand new Corvette, but how he was the champion of the boxing team, how he did this and he did that and he did this, and I could just feel her cringing. She couldn't say a word. You could see her physically back there trying to ball up and get away from him. They went on and on and on nonstop. He never took a breath about how wonderful he was and great. And it was comical. If you've been on tape, you'd die laughing. So we landed in Birmingham, and people get up, and she manages to, and she's turning toward the aisle to get away from him, right? To have to listen to all this. I could say he won't shut up, so she gets her little bag, and she gets up, and she starts to walk past me, and I leaned out and looked her in the eyes and said, looks like you had your chance and you blew it.
That's good.
Okay,
That's good.
Psychiatrists, have fun with that. I got nothing to talk about with treasures, but I do want to tell you this. Gold and silver is not magnetic. I can't see that up there. Is that already 2918?
2918.
Gold and silver, quick thing. Gold and silver is not magnetic. You can go into these trade shops, pawn shops, not pawn shops, what am I thinking of? These treasure shops. What is it? Antique shops. Antique shops,
yeah.
Can't think of the word antique. Take a magnet with you. And if you go through, they have little boxes with junk jewelry.
Yeah.
And if you pull things out individually and it looks like it could be gold or silver, learn what gold and silver feels like. I mean, I know that. But if you got a magnifying glass, you can look for 18K, 14K. But gold and silver is not magnetic. If something looks like it's gold or silver and a magnet pulls it up, forget it.
Yeah.
Gold plated, they'll put gold plate on steel or something, or aluminum or something, and it's going to be magnetic.
Right.
Now, I have a beautiful herringbone gold necklace. It's gold plated, 18 karat. It's gorgeous. It's heavy like real gold, but it's spray painted with gold, and it hadn't got $5 of gold on it.
Yeah.
But the paint gives it a gold look, so be careful with that. But remember that gold and silver is not magnetic. And if you're trying to buy something or somebody's giving you something, say it's a gold ring, it's a silver ring or necklace or something, if a magnet picks that up or any way it attracts it, ain't gold, ain't silver. Just remember that.
That's
okay?
an easy test.
And we just fly when we're having fun, okay? So we'll wind this one down. We do talk about donate. Got to donate. Think if you go to my website, you can donate. And I like to kind of know who's donating, if there's a way we can figure that out to thank them.
And if you just want to message and talk to Jim or ask him questions or talk about a podcast idea.
Yeah.
You actually had some messages coming through there, people that have heard your speeches and talks and how much they're enjoying them. So
Yeah. And we did have a guy.
If you want to hear the story, the medical story that we can't tell on the podcast, just hire Jim to come.
It's too unbelievable. It's too. You'd be afraid to go to the hospital if I told you. You wouldn't ever check into the hospital.
All right, guys. We appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to follow and subscribe all of these podcasts, and we will catch you on the next one.
Gold, they just gotta have that gold, they'll do.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you have questions for Jim Phillips or would like more information on his speaking availability, visit his website at jimphillipsalabama.com.